It began with a letter. Not from an ambassador, not from an embassy, but from the presidential villa itself, handwritten, sealed, and delivered directly to the home of Augustine Jay-Jay Okocha, the Nigerian football legend. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Burkina Faso, he said to himself, reading the neat, formal invitation. I haven't even played there before. But as he read the second page, the one written in the president's own hand, something changed in his face. It was personal, sincere, honest. President Ibrahim Traoré had written, "You don't know me, brother, but I know you. You inspired a boy in West Africa who believed in magic and movement more than machines and war. I would be honored to meet the man who taught me that joy could live in struggle." Jay-Jay held the letter for a long time. He had received hundreds of invitations before, award shows, honorary dinners, sports events. But this one felt different. This wasn't for headlines. It was a message from one African son to another. He picked up his phone, called his agent, and said, "Clear my weekend. I'm going to Ouagadougou." 3 days later, a quiet plane touched down on the tarmac at Ouagadougou International Airport. No red carpet, no flashing lights, just a black car waiting at the end of the runway. A young officer opened the door. "Welcome, sir. The president is waiting for you at the villa." Jay-Jay smiled. "Is he always this quiet?" The officer grinned. "Only when he's excited." Inside the presidential villa, Traoré was pacing the courtyard barefoot. He wasn't wearing military gear, just a white cotton tunic, simple sandals, and a wide, boyish grin. When he saw Jay-Jay step out of the car, he didn't wave. He ran to him and hugged him. "You made my childhood," Traoré said. "You don't understand what you did for boys like us. You were more than football. You were hope." Jay-Jay laughed, a bit surprised by the warmth. "You're the first president to greet me like a little brother," Traoré smiled. "Because before I was president, I was your fan." They walked into the villa together. No cameras, no bodyguards, just two men who had lived different lives but shared the same roots. And what was supposed to be a short courtesy visit turned into a conversation that lasted hours. Inside the villa, the air was cool and quiet. No media, no formal speeches. Just 2 chairs in a shaded corner of the courtyard, a pot of Bissap tea between them, and soft wind rustling through the trees. President Ibrahim Traoré leaned back, looking at Jay-Jay Okocha not like a footballer, but like a legend he had been waiting to meet his whole life. "You don't know how many times I watched that goal," Traoré said, smiling. "That one where you danced through 4 defenders and curled it in like poetry." Jay-Jay chuckled. "I don't even remember which one that was." "I do," Traoré said. "It was against Cameroon. My whole neighborhood cheered like we had just won a war." He sipped his tea and looked up. "You gave us joy in a time we had nothing. We didn't have food, we didn't have clean water, but we had your magic, and for 90 minutes it was enough." Jay-Jay's smile faded into something deeper, a kind of quiet pride. "I always played for the people," he said. "Not the cameras, not the trophies, just the people." Traoré nodded. "That's why I invited you. Because you were more than a player. You were a lesson. You showed us what freedom looked like, not with speeches, but with the ball at your feet." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Jay-Jay asked something unexpected. "Why me, really? Why now?" Traoré looked at him, serious now. "Because Africa is fighting a new kind of war, not just guns or politics. It's a war for the mind. They want our youth to believe we are weak, hopeless, lost. But when I was young, I saw you on that pitch and thought, if we can do this, we can do anything." Jay-Jay stared at him, eyes softer now. "You carry a heavy burden." "I do," Traoré said, "but I carry it with love." Just then, a palace aide approached quietly with a small box. Traoré opened it and pulled out an old football jersey, torn at the collar, faded by time, but still proudly green and white. "I wore this as a boy," he said. "I played barefoot, pretending to be you." He handed it to Jay-Jay. "You don't know this shirt," he smiled, "but it knows you." Jay-Jay held the old jersey in his hands, faded, stitched, and clearly worn 100 times. But to him, it looked like gold. He ran his fingers over the number, still barely visible. "Number 10, he whispered. "This was your dream, huh?" President Traoré smiled. "This was everything to me." They sat quietly for a moment. No guards, no ministers. Just a footballer and a freedom fighter sitting under the shade, two African sons bound by respect. Then Jay-Jay spoke, slowly, sincerely, like an older brother passing something sacred. "You know, when I played, I thought football was the biggest pressure in the world. Fans screaming, entire countries waiting for your next move. I used to think, this is heavy." He paused. "But now I look at you, sitting in this chair, leading a country at war with corruption, standing against powerful nations who want to keep us down, and I realize you're playing the hardest game of all." Traoré said nothing. He looked down at the teacup in his hands. Jay-Jay leaned in, his voice soft. "You can't afford to get injured. You can't afford a bad match. You don't get extra time. You don't even get fans cheering when you win quietly." The president nodded slowly. "I know." Jay-Jay continued. "But I want you to know something, brother. Whether they clap or not, the people feel it. They feel your fight. They feel your honesty. And even if they don't say it now, you are making history." Traoré looked up, and for a moment, just a moment, the lion had tears in his eyes. Not sadness, gratitude. Then Jay-Jay added something unexpected. "When I walked into this palace, I thought I was meeting a president, but now I see I'm meeting a fan." Traoré chuckled. "Maybe," he said, "but now I think I'm sitting with a teacher." Jay-Jay stood up and stretched. "You know what we say in football? Form is temporary, class is permanent." He pointed at Traoré. "Brother, you have class. And Burkina Faso has something better than oil or gold. They have a man who hasn't forgotten where he came from." The conversation was supposed to last 30 minutes. It went on for 4 hours. As the sun dipped low over Ouagadougou, casting long shadows across the palace courtyard, a soft breeze passed between the two men. Still seated, still talking like old friends. Then Jay-Jay's phone buzzed on the table. He checked the screen and smiled. "You won't believe who's calling." Traoré raised an eyebrow. "Another legend?" Jay-Jay turned the screen around. "Emmanuel Adebayor." Traoré leaned back, chuckling. That man was chaos and magic in boots. Jay-Jay tapped the screen. "Let's make it more interesting." He put the call on speaker. "Hey, Jay." Adebayor's voice boomed through the phone. "Where are you, old man? Still pretending to be young?" Jay-Jay grinned. "Actually, I'm sitting with the president of Burkina Faso right now." There was a pause. "No way," Adebayor said. "Traoré? Seriously?" "Seriously," Traoré said, leaning toward the phone. "And I've been a fan of both of you since I was dodging school just to watch matches." Adebayor laughed. "Now that's a compliment." Then his voice dropped into something more serious. "You know, Traoré, we talk about you a lot back home. You've made Africa stand up straighter, especially the young people. They see someone who doesn't speak in riddles, someone who means what he says." Jay-Jay nodded. "He's the only leader I've met who makes tea and hands me an old football jersey instead of a gold plaque." Adebayor replied, "Then he's one of us." Traoré smiled, visibly moved. "Gentlemen," he said softly, "I may lead a country, but I am still a student of the people. I don't want statues. I want change." Jay-Jay raised his cup. "To the student who became the lion," Adebayor added, "to the lion who still listens." The three men talked like brothers across borders, about football, politics, the future of Africa, and the weight of being role models, whether they asked for it or not. They laughed, they joked. But they also shared one powerful truth. The real victory isn't on the field. It's in the hearts of those who believe. And in that moment, with the call of birds in the background and the sound of three African icons laughing like children, the world felt a little lighter. The phone call ended with laughter, still echoing through the courtyard. Jay-Jay placed the phone down, but his face had changed. His smile now held something deeper, something older. "I've met presidents," he said. "I've shaken hands with kings. But this is the first time I felt like I came home." Traoré smiled, but didn't speak. He simply stood up and walked over to a wooden cabinet near the far end of the room. He opened a small drawer and returned, holding a dark blue box. "Before you go," he said, "I want you to have something." He placed the box in Jay-Jay's hands. The former footballer opened it slowly. Inside was a handcrafted medallion shaped like the African continent, with a lion engraved across the middle. Around the edges it read, "For those who lead without a title, for those who inspire without a crown." Jay-Jay looked up, his voice caught in his throat. This is too much." "No," Traoré said firmly. "This is too little compared to what you've given." He sat beside him again. "You inspired me long before I picked up a rifle. You gave us the confidence to believe we could win, even if the whole world expected us to lose." Jay-Jay stared at the medallion for a moment, then said something that surprised even him. "You know what I regret, Mr. President?" "What?" "That I never used my voice the way you're using yours now." Traoré leaned closer. "It's not too late." The silence that followed was thick with meaning. "I don't want to go back to Nigeria and just be the guy who dribbled well," Jay-Jay said quietly. "I want to start something. A program, a youth movement, something real." Traoré smiled. "Then let's do it together." Jay-Jay looked at him. "Are you serious?" "Very," Traoré replied. "You gave me a dream when I was young. Now I want to give that dream back to millions more, across borders, across tribes, across struggles." He paused. "You have the heart of a leader. Now, you just need the mission." Jay-Jay stood slowly, holding the medallion close to his chest. "Then I promise you," he said, "this visit is not the end. It's the beginning." And in that moment, two giants from two different fields shook hands, not as celebrity and president, but as partners in something far bigger. The movement had begun. The next morning, the sun rose gently over the city of Ouagadougou. Birds sang from the rooftops. Children kicked homemade footballs through dusty alleys. Life moved like it always did, steady, humble, real. But inside the presidential villa, something unexpected was happening. President Ibrahim Traoré and Jay-Jay Okocha stood barefoot on a small training field tucked behind the residence. No cameras, no journalists, just a few guards watching quietly from a distance, and one tattered football sitting between them. Jay-Jay rolled the ball with his foot. "You sure you want to do this, Mr. President?" Traoré grinned. "I've been waiting for this since I was 12. Don't blame me if I embarrass you. I'll blame you if you don't." And so it began. A short, silent game that would never be shown on TV. Jay-Jay dribbled slowly, teasing the ball like a magician. Traoré chased with a big smile, laughing every time he missed. At one point, the president actually slid in to steal it, and missed completely, landing in the dust. They both laughed like brothers. It wasn't about winning. It wasn't even about football. It was about remembering where we come from, about joy, about unity, about Africa, rising from the ground, not through speeches or meetings, but through moments like this. Afterward, they sat on the steps, wiping sweat with towels and drinking cool bissap from glass bottles. Jay-Jay looked up at the palace. "You know, I always thought of presidents as far away, above us. But you remind me that leadership is about sitting on the same ground as the people." Traoré nodded. "Because I am the people." There was a long silence. Then Jay-Jay said, "I think the world needs to hear this story." Traoré smiled. Let them feel it instead. Later that day, as Jay-Jay prepared to leave, Traoré walked him to the car personally. They hugged tightly. No fancy handshakes, no rehearsed lines. Before getting in, Jay-Jay turned and asked, "Do you think Africa can really rise?" Traoré looked into the distance, then back at him. "I don't think," he said. "I believe, and I know we're not alone anymore." The car pulled away, and as the dust settled on the quiet road leading out of the palace, one man went home carrying a medallion, and the other remained, carrying a dream,